Welcome to Southwest Florida Real Estate Update, hosted by area realtor Jim York and York Real Estate Group of Downing Fry Realty. Our show will bring you the most up-to-date information about the local real estate market, featuring leading experts in the real estate field.
Hi, I'm Michael York with the York Real Estate Group of Downing Fry Realty. Welcome to the Southwest Florida Real Estate Update. Today with our host Jim York and his guest Larry Ray, the Collier County Tax Collector.
Thank you, Michael, for the introduction. We're here today with Mr. Ray. Mr. Ray, just give us a little background about yourself.
Well, I've been here in Collier County since 1991. I came here from Europe. I came here from Heidelberg, Germany. I'd been in the military, retired over there in '87. Worked over there a few years as a software developer. Came to Naples and went to work for Naples Community Hospital as a IT person. I worked there about 16 years. Ended up as the vice president for construction and facilities and that kind of support service things. And went to work for Guy Carlton, my predecessor at the tax collector's office in 2007, and ran for tax collector in 2008, and have been in that position since then.
And what is that role?
We're one of the five. I am one of the 5 constitutional officers in Collier County, as in almost every county in the state of Florida, but not every county, because some charter counties do not have constitutionally elected sheriffs or tax collectors, a couple, 2 or 3. But I'm one of the 5 constitutional elected officers in the county. And I collect taxes, and I'm an agent for the state. I collect real estate taxes.
Right.
And a couple of other that I'm sure we'll talk about.
That's right.
I'm the agent for the state with the motor vehicle department, and I issue license plates, vessel registrations, and driver's license. I'm also an agent with Florida Wildlife from the state, and I issue permits for hunting and fishing and gator permits, gator tags, and things like that. And I work with recently worked with the health department, and we'll issue you a birth certificate if you were born in the state of Florida.
Oh, really?
So,
Well, Mr. Ray, we're here this evening to really talk about tax certificates.
okay.
So maybe you could just start with the overview of what is a tax certificate.
Okay. All right. Let's start with a little bit about the cycle, because to talk about it in isolation would not be a good thing.
No, it wouldn't be.
So every year, the appraiser comes out with a tax roll. Each and every year, he appraises the property every year. I get that tax roll around the last of September, the beginning of October. At that time, a flurry of activities start in my shop, and we get out all those 242,000 tax bills that go out or mailed out. I do that. And then the process of collection for that year begins. And I'm sure that your viewers are familiar with that.
That's
4% by 30 November, 3% by 30 December, a very effective method, I might add. Nevertheless, on the 1st of April, when you are delinquent, there will be delinquencies in the Collier County. Less now than a couple of years ago. But when we had about 13,500 delinquencies.
Did we really?
Last year we ran about 7,000 delinquencies, and I'm hopeful that we will have 7 to 6 delinquencies this year. But there will be delinquencies.
Just excuse me.
Yes.
Back in 2002 or
It was 2008 or 7 or something like that.
How many were back then?
13,500.
So what's the norm for our county, or do you know?
Yes, up until that time, up until the big recession.
That's right.
It had been running around 3% delinquent. So that'll vary according to how the tax roll grows, as you know it's going to grow now as you see the construction around here. So around 3% is a good rule of thumb delinquent. 3 to 4, it was up 5.5%
Okay.
back in those days. When you think about it, though, we sent out 220,000 people paid their taxes on time. So I think it's a good system. Okay, so you're delinquent. If you don't pay your so you're delinquent as of 1 April, so you get some penalties and interest added on. But we're not going to sell a certificate until 1 June. You can pay your taxes anytime. What it's going to cost you will determine on when you pay it. Will be determined by when you pay it.
That's right.
Okay, so around the middle of May, a few of those will have paid that were delinquent, but around the middle of May, we fixed the tax delinquency roll. Okay, and then we will publish that in the paper 3 Tuesdays in a row. And I'm sure the people are familiar with that.
That's
it's the big 14, 15 page that you can't read the names on, and the printing's real small. And so that's the delinquent roll. Those are the delinquencies that we will sell a certificate on if they're not paid off by June 1st. Okay, because that's when we're going to have a certificate sale.
Okay.
Certificates that's how you get there. Okay, now what is a certificate? It is very simply stated, a lien on the property for the taxes due. That's what a tax certificate is. And we auction them off one at a time in the order that they appear in that paper until we have auctioned them all off, or nobody buys or nobody bids on the certificate, in which case the county owns the certificate.
And if somebody would be interested in buying one of these, how would they go about it?
That's a very good question.
It's not that easy, is it?
No, it's fairly easy actually.
Okay.
But it's not something that you wouldn't have to think about a little bit. And I'm going to outline the reasons for that. Anybody can bid. It's a public meeting. You can come to the auction and not bid, but you can certainly come to bid. But in order to bid, you need to have done a couple of things. You need to have come to my orientation if you've never bid before in Collier County, because I don't want you in there if you don't know what you're getting into. And what I'm going to talk about here for about 15 minutes, we'll talk about for about an hour and 45 minutes. A lot of the nuances of how the interest works and what the time frames are and what the process of tax certificates, how that all works.
Right.
And there'll be any questions people have, we do that. And I'll be running those classes in May. Yes, 4 classes starting on the 14th of May. You can call my office at 252-8171 and speak to my assistant, and she'll give you more information than you'd ever want to know.
Do you have that information on your website?
We will put it on the website. We don't have it out there yet because
It's
sure
too
enough,
early.
people will be wanting to know where the delinquency list is.
Exactly.
Nobody's delinquent yet, so.
Right. So they hold this auction at the board over at Collier County, right?
We hold the auction at the I have that information. We hold that at the school administration building, first floor boardroom on 5775 Osceola Trail.
Right. So if somebody attends one of these, just step us through kind of shortly, what would they expect? Because it does happen very fast, right?
Right, it does. What they would expect first is if they were to come watch it, that's one process. If they were going to participate in it, that's another process. To participate in it, you would go to the orientation, then you would have to come register to be a participant. To register to be a participant, you have to put money down. You have to put 10% of what you think you will bid, give that to me in what we call in the orientation real money. Cashier's check, cash, money order, wire transfer. That will get you a bidder's placard that has a number on it, a unique number. That is how you participate in this process, is with that bidder's number, much as Sotheby's bid would be, only it's not quite that fancy,
Right.
but it's a number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then if you took that, now you have registered, and I simplified it a little bit,
Right.
but if somebody was really interested,
Mm-hmm.
they could get more information about that than they would ever need.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now you come to the auction at probably 9 o'clock on the first day of the auction. We will have a few opening remarks, and then we will start the bidding. We don't do any instruction there.
Right. It's just the
We
bidding.
just start at the top and start drilling toward the bottom. It goes in parcel number sequence as advertised, one at a time. We announce the parcel number, the amount, and then there'll be 125 people in the audience with placards, and they bid. Go ahead.
I'll tell you, before we go into that a little bit more,
Okay.
we're going to take a little short break,
Okay.
okay, and be back in 1 minute.
Right. Okay.
When picking a realtor, don't just pick anyone. Pick someone with experience. Pick someone with a proven track record. Pick a realtor like Jim York from Downing Fry Realty, the #1 brokerage with the most real estate transactions in the area.
My husband and I had very specific ideas about what we wanted in our new home. Jim York was able to help us find the home that was ideal for us.
With over 20 years of real estate experience in Southwest Florida, Jim York has negotiated over $200 million in sales contracts. Selecting the right realtor is a critical decision that can earn you thousands when selling or save you thousands when buying.
Jim also helped us with a mortgage lender and a good real estate attorney. He went that extra mile, and his experience says it all.
Call Jim York for a no-obligation meeting at 239-273-6727 or visit his website, www.naplesyorkrealestate.com.
Welcome back to our show. Mr. Ray, well, we left off at, now we're at the auction.
Yes.
We got a bidder,
Got your bid number.
okay. How do we bid?
Okay. All right. What you're bidding, let's talk about what you're doing. You're going to pay this tax
bill.
So that's the face amount that's advertised in the paper.
That's right.
That's the amount that will be called out. You will bid. What you will bid is the amount of interest you're willing to take to pay for that. It starts by statute at 18%.
Mm-hmm.
18% would be a pretty good investment.
Exactly.
I can tell you right now,
Not gonna
they
happen.
won't go for 18%. That's
Right.
why they call it an auction.
Right.
It will be bid down to the lowest bidder. The lowest bidder wins the auction.
And so it's a reverse,
It's
basically.
a reverse, and they win the right to pay those taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do. That's what I expect when you bid.
So, okay, we're bidding.
Right.
We're bidding, and the tax bill was $1,000.
Okay.
And they won the bid at 3%.
Okay.
Okay. When do they pay the tax? The next day? The
Yes.
$1,000.
I'll give you 3 or 4 working days. This will all be in the orientation. At
Okay.
which time you have to settle up with me for the balance due. Hopefully, you're going to buy more than one certificate.
Exactly. And then on their interest rate that they bid
Right.
on, 3%.
Right.
When do they collect that?
Well,
I'm just
I understand that. That's a very good question. This is not a CD,
right.
so there is no guarantee of when you will collect it. So, an excellent investment, and I've seen this happen, would be that you bought it on Tuesday morning and they paid it off on Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
Okay? Then you would make a percent for those 8 hours. Okay? As a matter of fact, and this is going to really not a good subject to bring up in this short a period of time, but I would pay you 5% because the minimum the state will let me pay out is 5%.
Okay, it's a minimum of 5%.
Yeah, but if you bid 3%, that's a good bid.
Right.
If you held it 2 years, you'd get 3 plus 3% is 6%.
Right.
If it was paid off in less than 1 year,
Get
you
5.
would be due 3%, but the law says the least I'll pay out is 5%. If it was paid off that afternoon,
Right.
you'd get 5% on your money in 5 hours.
Right. It's pretty good.
That's why people come to bid.
Right.
Yeah.
And how long can a tax certificate be held?
If you had it at 3% and 2 years went by and you hadn't heard from anyone,
Right.
and by the way, all correspondence on tax certificates come through me. You don't drop by the house and drop a note in the mailbox and say, oh, by the way, I own a lien on your house.
Right.
That's not the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
You bought a certificate from me, I talked to the property owner, and I talked to you.
Okay.
That's the way it works.
That's the way it
That's
works.
the way it works. So you held it for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The certificate has a life of 7 years. After 7 years, it's not worth anything. It's like it's like a stock warrant. It has a lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you would want to do something prior to 7 years to get your money.
Okay.
The earliest you can do it is 2 years. At 2 years, if you have not got your money plus interest back, and the way you get that back is the property owner pays the taxes and the interest. You could file to have that property auctioned off by the clerk of courts for the taxes due and interest.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, that is how you get your payment if the property owner does not pay and you choose to do that.
Is that called a tax deed?
That's a tax deed sale.
Sale.
Different than a foreclosure.
Right, it is.
Different rules, different law applies. It's a tax deed sale. And you are the number one lien holder.
Lien holder.
You're at the top of the list on that particular. So, a question that comes up, what if there's a mortgage involved? That's good for you.
Right.
I will assure you that 99.999% of the banks are not going to let a piece of property go to a tax deed sale. So they will pay the taxes before that happens. And all you want is the taxes and the interest that you have in this. That's what you're there for.
Okay.
Okay?
And the sale is over 2 days, right?
It'll be over 3 days.
3
It ran
days.
5 days back when we had 13,000 of them. So we'll be doing one about every 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a place for people that don't know what they're doing. Yes.
And I think in your seminar, you almost suggest that you go even 1 year or to observe before you really.
I said go, for sure, maybe go that morning and see
okay.
if it suits your makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't argue about it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't discuss it. You don't get to say, time out, I didn't mean to do that.
Right.
If you bid on it, you own it.
You own it.
That's correct.
Okay. And just before we go to another break here, CDDs.
Mm-hmm.
You collect those.
Non-ad valorums.
Right.
Yes.
How does that work if somebody doesn't pay that?
Well, the beauty of having me collect your non-ad valorem assessment is it gets all the statutory protection that you get from the Florida statutes on a tax bill.
Right.
So if you're the CDD, you love that I collected. If you're a bidder, you need to know about what portion of that bill is non-ad valorem and what portion of it is tax.
Right.
Because, and the only reason I say that is, it's nothing bad about non-ad valorem, but it can skew the relationship that you might be used to thinking. You would think that the taxes in Collier County is usually 11 mils, so you'd say a $500,000 home ought to have a tax of about $5,000. If I've got $5,000 in it, it's a nice home, I will get my money back because they will auction it off, and surely somebody will pay at least $5,000 for a home that's valued at $500,000.
Right.
If you were to have a really skewed non-ad valorem assessment, which is not according to value, ad valorem according to value,
Right.
ad valorem not according to value, then you might have one, and I won't name any, that has a little bitty tax and a huge non-ad valorem. You did the thought process, well, surely somebody will buy it, and guess what? They might not buy it.
Right.
at a tax deed sale. Therefore, you are left holding the bag.
Ag.
Come to the orientation.
Right.
I'll-
I think it's.
we can get in more
I've been to
detail.
one, and
Yes.
it's very useful, and that's why one of the reasons we wanted you to come here to
Yeah,
explain to the audience.
I wish I could make it clearer in a
Right.
shorter period of time,
But it's hard.
And there's stuff that's
in your
hard.
seminar is between an hour and an hour and a half long.
Yes,
So,
correct.
Mr. Ray, we're going to take a little short break here, and we're going to be right back in 1 minute.
Selecting the right realtor is a critical decision that can earn you thousands when selling.
Jim sold our villa in just 2 days. We got the highest price in the community. He then helped us to negotiate and purchase our new home here in Tiburon. I'd recommend Jim. His expertise made all the difference.
Call Jim York for a no-obligation meeting at 239-273-6727 or visit his website, www.naplesyorkrealestate.com.
Welcome back. Mr. Ray, we're going to go to Michael for a question from the audience here, okay?
Mr. Ray, what forms do seasonal renters need to fill out for tourist tax?
That's a good question. Tourist tax is one of our, actually tourist tax is really up the last couple of years, probably to no surprise to anybody. But there's two forms basically. There used to be one, you had to file a form with your taxes. But we've since added a form where you actually register with us as a rentor. And you get a unique number, and that's how we track rentals. So you can get that you can get the registration number from a realtor, from a homeowners association. You can come to my office and get one. You can print it off the website. You fill that out, get to us. We will give you a unique number and send it back to you. Then you will be getting a form to file your tourist tax on a yearly basis. And then if your realtor if you have an agent doing the work for you, they'll need to file it or you file it. But you need that unique registered number for us to know who we're dealing with and track what we're doing.
And is there a time period for that?
Yeah, you see, I've got people that handle that. I know the people come in all the time. I think it might be like, I don't know that answer exactly.
It's usually 60, 90 days probably afterwards.
Right.
Okay. And then how about, what is the tourist tax?
Tourist tax is a local tax,
Right.
and it's actually levied by the commission here, and it's for tourist things. The one you hear attached to it down here is, and this isn't my area of expertise, I only collect it, but it's beach renourishment versus advertisement. That's what I see is the thing. And we collect it and we give it, as we do all the taxes we collect, to the taxing authority. So whatever entity levied the tax is who we pass it on to, and what they do with it is their business. But it's 4% here. I think it has a cap of 5%, so they could add another percent. It would take a commission vote, I believe, to do that. They have not done that, and that's great. It's 4%. And then the state sales tax, because if you rent 6 months or less, that's when you fall into the tourist tax area. Over 6 months,
you're okay.
You're okay. You don't do that. Under 6 months, you pay the tourist tax. You pay a 6% use tax to the state. We don't collect that. You come to see us to pay your 4%. We'll tell you where to go to pay the 6%. That's the Department of Revenue, State of Florida.
Okay.
So that's tourist tax 101. We're going to get $20 million this year in tourist tax.
Are you really?
Yes, it's
probably growing.
It is growing. It's growing tremendously. Hotels pay it, motels pay it, individuals pay it that rent their unit for 6 months or less.
And before we end the show here, is how many parcels do you collect taxes for in Collier County?
This year, I believe it's around 242,000 parcels, and it's growing. Now the tax roll, if anybody's interested, and it's a gee whiz figure, that when I go speak to local clubs, they always miss by a large number. So maybe I'll just put it out right now. The tax roll is this year about $825 million. So that's what we collect.
That's what you collect.
In real estate taxes and tangible taxes.
Wow.
And that goes to the school board, fire departments, counties, cities, anybody that's a taxing entity, and there's a lot of them in Collier County.
How's that compare with Lee County? Do you know?
I do not know
Okay, I
that.
was just curious.
They have I know they have more parcels than we do,
Right.
but I doubt if proportionally they're, well, I'm almost sure
Yeah,
that
they're-
proportionally their
right.
tax wouldn't be as big as the parcel increase is.
Well, Mr. Ray, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show again. I know you were on last year, and we would also like to thank you for your great service you're doing for the county, okay?
Well, I'm always glad to come. It's hard to cover in a short period of
It
time
is,
like this,
it
and I
is.
feel like I might. But you know, if I added enough confusion to get a phone call, that's fine.
Right. Well, thank you very much.